All right. Welcome back to episode 35 of the Otter Players podcast, where we are starting late today for some examples of some extenuating circumstances where I definitely did not wake up on time. Um, my situation is a little different this weekend, so my alarm did not go off like it was supposed to. But we decided we're still going to cover it. We're still going to get into it and see if we can get through this news this week and get ready for the Tokyo Game Show to come. So, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get straight into it. Weeb, how are you, man? What have you been playing?
Good. I've been playing. Well, I think, Platted Astrobot after the podcast last time. I think so, or was it before? I don't really remember. But after that, Star Wars Outlaws, um, a bit of Akemi bot, if I pronounce it correctly. And of course the Plucky Squire, which I also platted, which was a really fun, short, mixture of different art styles and different gameplay. You know, if you've seen the trailer, you have that gimmick where you can jump out of the book and into a 3D world, and takes inspiration from Zelda, Super Punch Out, to Bejeweled. It's crazy all the different gameplay elements they have. I really enjoyed it, so I definitely think it was worth the hype and then the wait. And if you're think it's if you subscribe to extra, then you basically get it for free. So that's definitely worth downloading. Um, Other than that, Kimbot, played a bit of that. It's sort of like if you've seen the trailer, it's heavily inspired Ratchet and Clank, but really like a low budget version of that. Um, it is enjoyable in short bursts because the fucking discount Ratchet is has a really grating voice. Like he really gets on your nerve if you play too long. Um, but yeah, it's a short game with easy plat, so definitely gonna try to get that in between. And the rest of the time playing Outlaws, which Morgan already beat platted it. So so basically telling me I need to get moving. um,
I know she's been on a
but
rampage lately, and you right behind her with your platinums.
I got my 100 plat. So I finally made to the big leagues.
Nice,
Trying to get like you,
congrats.
Weeb.
Thank you. Outlaws is still uh, fun. It is easy to get distracted with all the Ubisoft shit. Every time there's like a hidden treasure somewhere on the map, or a
Mm-hmm.
contract you can do. Um, but so far, like it's fun, having these different syndicates that you can sort of always choose to portray one or help the other. Um, and yeah, I mean it's so far it's actually pretty easy to keep them mostly happy, even if you lose reputation. Like I only had like a beginning where it definitely it immediately dropped to you were neutral and then suddenly you were hostile. But it doesn't seem as difficult to do once you're a bit later in the game.
Yeah,
Finally found got the robot. So and now I'm apparently assembling my crew, and I guess that's gonna sort of set up the I guess their version of the suicide mission, I suppose.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. I think for the time being, though there is I think a Zelda game coming out this month, so I'm
It is.
maybe next week. Yeah, so there might be a change of plans there. Yeah, like always, it's crazy. I mean, next month, Dragon Age, new East games coming out. November, Assassin's Creed. Like, I really don't know where I have to find the time. And yeah, like I said, Tokyo Game Show next week. So there's probably going to be a lot more announcements that are gonna, fuck up my schedule. Um, yeah, we already had the RGG summit where they announced new Yakuza game. And as you know me, I'm the biggest Yakuza shill on this planet. So I will definitely get that, and we'll try to get the collector's edition that I finally decide to come with the physical version with the works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really fun. Finally Majima getting his own game, and they really sort of went all out with suddenly turning it into, yeah, like you said, more like Devil May Cry gameplay instead of the more traditional brawler gameplay. But yeah, really looking forward to that. That's coming in February, I think. So yeah, also not that long. That's not a long wait. So yeah, it's crazy. Before we move on, though, I do want to talk about one thing learned that this week. I think you all now learned that one of our own gamer in the gaming community passed away, sadly. Big Mike from the platform podcast. Um, I've listened to the platform, as sort of regularly before they moved to Twitch, and yeah, I interact with Big Mike. He was always having fun with the chat, and yeah, I mean, it was always always called the Uncle Buck of that podcast. Like, he was always cheerful and always laughing, and yeah, it's really sad to hear somebody that you've listened to and enjoyed pass away. So yeah, I just want to yeah, mention it, and yeah, a lot of love and strength to his loved ones, his family, and of course the nice folks at the platform podcast. So yeah,
Absolutely,
that's
man.
yeah. So
R.I.P.
yeah,
Big
that's
Mike.
yep.
Like I said, I did get to interact with him as well on a number of occasions. He was always really helpful and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So,
Yep.
in the limited time that I did as well, like I said, it's always been a positive interaction for me, and that seems to be the case for everybody else that interacted with him. So, yeah, like you said, all the prayers, all the strength, to his family and
Mhm.
friends, having to go through that. But yeah, I mean, shout out to the gaming community as a whole for remembering him this week because I've seen it on all the podcasts and everybody talking about it. So, yeah, I mean, as they say, you're gone, but not forgotten. People kind of. It's interesting though. At the same time, some reminders are coming out of this to people that you know everybody doesn't always weigh our mortality every day.
Yeah.
We're always
Mhm.
looking forward to the next game, but one at some point the next game is not going to come, for some of us. So,
Yep.
yeah, man, value your games, value the people in your life, and remember to,
Value your time, Zaman.
yeah, your time, especially, something we talk about all the time. You can always make more money. You can't make more time. That is limited as far as we know. So, yeah. Uh, yeah, but like I said, man, rest in peace. Um, but yeah, it's Nelson. I'll go to you real quick because I know you basically been playing one thing, I believe. But how are you, man? And what have you been playing?
Astrobot, other than I play Gran Turismo every week. Like
N-
I don't even
nice
add
and
that no
simple.
more because I
Nice
just
and simple. I mean, that's fine if that's what you've been playing. That's what you've been playing.
I do it every day. I do my week. I stop until I get all them fucking cars.
There you go.
It's just the way it is. I'm at
Nah,
like
I don't blame you.
392.
Oh yeah, you up there then? Nah, I don't blame you at all. Um, but yeah, we'll go ahead and move to the next person. In that case, Morgan, how are you, ma'am, and what have you been playing?
I'm good. I'm good. Uh, been playing a lot this week. As we've stated already, I finished Star Wars Outlaws, platinum that. Really enjoyed that, and it just goes to show, I know a lot of the people, especially on Twitter and in the gaming conversation, have uh, a stick up their butt when it comes to Star Wars Outlaws. But the thing is, it's like games are diverse and so are gamers. So just because the consensus is that people don't like a game doesn't mean you won't like it. So that's why I always say, go with your gut and go with what you like and don't listen to whatever the gaming zeitgeist is and, have them try to tell you whether or not you should like a game. Find some reviewers or some people you trust, because I understand Ubisoft games are hella expensive, especially. So, find some reviewers you like or people you trust who know your gaming style and, ask them their opinion if they liked it or not and what they liked and didn't like about it and, make that decision from there. Or, wait on a sale, pick it up and try it then. But yeah, I
Good
really
for that.
enjoyed.
You get that shit half off in like 2 months.
Yeah, that's another thing about Ubisoft games. They go on sale hella quick. So yeah, just yeah, my advice always, go with what you like. Don't let other people tell you whether or not you'll like a game. Um
Absolutely.
yeah, but I enjoyed my time with Star Wars Outlaws. It gave me what I wanted. I wanted to be in a lived in Star Wars world, and that's what I got. Um so yeah, got the plat, finished that, enjoyed that. And I'll probably be back whenever they release the story expansions or whatever. Um Then, also like Weeb, I played Plucky Squire. It really enjoyed that game too. Platinum that. Um, I really like the use of the 2D to 3D. It made for some interesting gameplay concepts. Um, it got to a point where some of the gameplay mechanics for me were a little bit overused, but I still enjoyed it. It didn't like hinder my experience to where I was just like, "Oh, this is a bad game." No, I enjoyed my time with Plucky Squire. And like we've said, it being on extra was definitely a nice little bonus. So if you had PS Plus, um, the higher tiers, you could play it. It was included. So played it, enjoyed it, platinumed it. And now I'm back on Persona 3. I swear, I always finish games and then jump right back on Persona because I'm just trying to plat at least one Persona game before Metaphor drops. And I'm about like 89 hours into Persona 3 Reload currently. Really enjoying it. I feel like I'm reaching the climax of it. Getting to the near latter half. So hopefully, I will finish this before anything else major drops onto my lap, and then it gets pushed in the back burner again. But yeah, and the portal obviously really helps me out because that's what I'm doing right now as I'm on the podcast. So, um, yeah, just busy gaming.
No, I get that. We definitely been struggling to get through a lot of these games that have been the onslaught of the fall season.
Yeah, there's
As
so many
games
distractions
usually been.
too.
Yeah,
Yep,
it's been wild, but enjoyable. That's the key part. There's so many great games to play. So honestly, nobody should be
absolutely.
struggling to play something great right now. Uh, ever something literally for everybody. So even famously, Jack Move over there, he had to hold that L while he was playing Astrobot, you know, finally, and be like, man, this game is amazing. And I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, he'd talk less if he played more of the games. That's the
He,
problem. Like he plays a lot of games, but
yeah, he
you know what I
play
mean.
he's
$5 indies and
The
shit.
fact that he didn't see that coming. That's the crazy part.
oh yeah,
From
I
the
know,
trailer alone was it.
but yeah,
People were like, "Well,
it is what
how
it
do you
is.
like Rise of the Rose? And how do you like Celebrate? How do you like? I ain't played none of them games. Then shut the fuck up."
Yeah, he hasn't played any of those. But Omar, how are you, man? And what have you been playing?
Yeah, so uh, Me, first of all, RIP to Big Mike. Great dude. Always a pleasure to hang with. Um, there's actually a GoFundMe for him being set up. So if anyone has the funds and capable to help, feel free to do so. With that being said, um, this week have been hell for me. Between last week and this week, I've been sick, which is not an issue, but my voice left my body for close to a week. So I'm on the recovery period. So if I sound a little bit different, that's it. As for gaming, so yeah, lots of plating. I platinum the Astrobot. Like, what can I say that that haven't been said? Amazing game, the music, the gameplay, the end level challenges. Fuck the duck and the lava challenge. That shit can stay hidden forever. Besides that, I love the personalities on the screen, which made me question this. Would you guys be interested if PlayStation made not only Astrobot their biggest mascot, but also made it where they would reveal their new games via Astrobot? Like, put the new character in Astrobot and have you find him or her and see what his or her abilities are in the game. In my opinion, like Astrobot don't need to be a one and done game. They can make it close to a live service without being a live service if if they keep updating it. Because we already know they're gonna release content for it, additional content for it. So what's your guys' opinion about that?
I'm gonna be honest, Omar. We have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I'm just
Okay, so
getting
basically,
through the intro.
really, look, dude.
I'm not.
You
I'm
know
not
what?
even listening to you because I expect you to just tell us the games you're playing so I can get to the first topic.
Oh fuck you, dude. Okay, so what I've been playing? Okay, so I platinum
Man,
Astrobot.
oh man. Oh,
I
go ahead, Omar.
I platinum the Plucket Squire. I
Congrats.
enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the game. It got a few flaws.
Fuck this man, by
Um,
the way.
no, it's more on the technical difficulties aspect. Um, Also, don't go for the plat unless you have a what you call it, guide by the hand. Cause I made the mistake of going for the plat without a guide, and I had to restart from chapter 3 because I missed one misery item. But yeah, besides that, I also platinumed the um, Vampire Survivors, which thanks to Innate for having me addicted to this game, and to make matter worse or better, however you wanna see it, I also am now playing the DLC for it, which is additional characters, close to 30 or 40 characters. Um, and yeah, no. The only thing that I wish with this game was different is the ability to turn off the visual effect, because at some point you just can't see where you're walking, and that's irritating as heck. But yeah, that's about it for me.
Cool. Sounds good. Again, everybody getting their platinums. Everybody playing a lot of different games. So again, like I said, just more to enjoy, man. And shout out to Henry. He said that he's been playing Space Marine as well, and even went back to Gungrave Gore. So whipping out some of
Oh
the
yeah,
old
shout out
stuff.
to him.
Yeah.
I'm playing that too.
Oh, okay. You
That
went
was
back to
pretty
that
good.
too. uh,
Yeah, that Gore is Didn't come out that long ago. I think last year or something.
Yeah, I remember when it came out because it
Yeah.
just kind of popped up, and I know a lot of people were enjoying it. So it seems like people are still enjoying it. So that's what's up. Looks like we got Ryan in the chat as well. He said Mario Galaxy had some hard challenges, which makes him reminisce from the game when playing Astrobot. No, I definitely get that. Yeah, Astrobot is not playing around on those challenge levels, so I definitely get that. As for me, again, still playing through um, Star Wars Outlaws. Uh, Still enjoying it. Some of the restrictive aspects and the balancing of the way you get the abilities and stuff is like driving me crazy. Uh, I feel like they definitely should have thought more about how they present the abilities to you. They should have worked on presenting them in a more linear fashion rather than this like open world, like it's all an option thing, because it really does change a lot of your perspective per mission. If you're missing something that you really could have used, then you don't have the ability and you get locked in to being stuck on a planet or something until you finish a mission, so on and so forth. So I think the freedom aspect that they really wanted kind of gets hindered sometimes by your choices and which planet you might go to. um, so I think that's something that I've definitely noticed in my personal playthrough. That's kind of gotten me. Thankfully, I found uh, a a guide on suggested abilities you should go for first, and that seems to be really helpful. It seems to be like honestly the first couple things that she should really get. It gives you like most of your tools and stuff like that, so when you come across pretty much any situation, you can handle it. Um, so some of them definitely could be optional, but I think they definitely should have done a better job laying some of these out, which is why I think I see such a varying degree of takes on um, on Star Wars Outlaws. I think a lot of people are just running into some of these situations, and that's where a lot of the frustration's coming from, because they don't have the gear or they haven't done some of these missions, because there's nothing to really indicate the importance of some of these missions. Uh, on top of the fact that the way you get the abilities, you've got to do X amount of things within the world to unlock those things. Which some of them you can kind of do out in the open and just whatever. Some of them you need really really specific situations in order to get them to trigger. So yeah, I just think they definitely should have thought about some of these being more mandatory and not optional, because I think it would give a lot of people a much better time while they're playing as K, with some of these abilities being mandatory unlocked before people get into certain situations, and I think it would change the experience a ton. Um, Again, also Persona 3 Reload. Getting back to that, which is, of course, phenomenal. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Persona series, so I'm excited to finally get back to that and get back to being in that world and going for the platinum on that one. Definitely. I am almost as well on the second platinum for Vampire Survivor. So I did plan to platinum the game twice, the PS4 and PS5 version, because the game is a lot of fun and I enjoyed it that much. So yeah, I'm like 2 or 3 trophies away from the platinum for doing that a second time. Um, that's mostly what I've been playing. I haven't had a chance to start Plucky Squire again. It's just been so busy, so gotta beat something before I get over to Plucky Squire. But it's not going anywhere. We'll get to it. Um, and like I said, it's just been a lot of fun getting to all these games, and I'm still trying to get back to Nino Kuni remaster, like we were talking about before the podcast as well. So again, just so much to play, but definitely got to get all this stuff off my plate before Metaphor, because when Metaphor drops, I am dropping everything and I'm playing that game regardless. So yeah,
X.
Metaphor is everything. I am not stopping until I'm done with that game. So yeah, a new universe from Atlas is a big deal, and I'm excited to jump in and see what they've been creating. So this is again a culmination of many years. So I'm interested to see what they've been up to while we wait for Persona 6 to come and be announced as well. But yeah, that's what I've been playing at the moment. But we'll go ahead and jump into our first topic. Honestly, there's quite a few. I thought there wasn't much to talk about this week, but people have been creating news, whether there is news or not. Uh, we'll go ahead and jump in to the main thing, the title or picture that I created for the podcast, which is Square Enix. So Square Enix recently, I guess, had their investors meeting where they talked about their projections versus their actual expectations for many of their titles, and they talked about how their HD section of their games, which is pretty much everything they make at this point. But really, what they mean by that is their high-end games. So games like games that are played on higher-end systems, as in the PS5, PC, so on and so forth. They basically had some middling results with, you've got Final Fantasy 14, which did do well, but they've essentially attributed the upcoming time frame in between as being a lull period for that, because obviously, you've got your subscriptions, but you don't get a big influx from Final Fantasy 14 unless there is an expansion. Right now, until I think sometime late next year or mid next year, they're not expecting the expansion for that. So that is also a drop in revenue for them. Obviously, Foam Stars was a big failure for them as well. So that was another game where they incurred a lot of operating costs and development costs, but didn't see much return.
Shit failed, like all of it. Everything
Yeah.
they made for mobile failed miserably.
Yeah, they were definitely struggling.
Also, one of their biggest IP, Kingdom Hearts, is as their final game. So that's another
I mean, that doesn't have anything to
money.
do with their sales expectations, though.
Sorry?
That doesn't have anything to do with their sales expectations, though.
I mean, they're gonna also say that it didn't do well. They don't, they are out of touch with sales expectations in general.
I mean, they are.
And it's,
They are, but I'm just
and it's
saying, I'm just talking
killing
about
the
right
studio.
now. We're talking about the reason why they believe that they have an issue versus the reality. So, I mean, their
Mm.
projections are always crazy. I mean, we've talked about that for a number of years, but what actually happens, I mean, in the end, is ultimately, the issue of some of the decisions they made or some of the things that they've done internally, and then think that those things are going to result in an astronomical growth in some of their series. Again, like I said, famously, uh, Final Fantasy 16 recently being one of the bigger things, which, let's get something straight. They specifically stated initial sales for Final Fantasy 16, they would place in the extremely strong category for them. So they were ecstatic about the sales as far as that and the initial takeoff of it. And they understand the attach rate is extremely high in comparison to prior games that were launched with the PlayStation 4 in mind, which had a much higher user base. So they do understand that. What happened is, though, they have a high end expectation from the latter sales of the game, and that is
Meet
where
that shit neither
yeah,
ever.
they literally never hit it.
Tomb Raider sold like 13.5 million. They were disappointed. Rise of Tomb Raider.
They were expecting because it's action based. It's gonna do gangbusters sales. That's how what it was. It's very simple to admit to that,
Yeah,
which a lot of them are gonna do so.
yeah. I mean, the director stated, in order to appeal to a wider audience and a younger audience, mainly, obviously speaking, I mean, he specifically pointed out Americans at some point during many interviews that essentially simplifying the game and focusing on what they call immediate reaction. When you press a button, something happens. That they thought that's what they needed to do in order to secure more sales. And the reality is, the game ends up selling about the same as any other Final Fantasy. So that's where, again, their expectations kind of got out of control, because Square does this all the time. Square has done this for years. Anyone who has been a Square fan and seen Square go through these phases where they chase what everybody else is doing instead of giving fans what they want, which is, you know, the games that we've loved from Square Enix for years, them focusing on creating great RPGs, that basically are grounded in the realm of, what JRPGs are famous for, right? They were the HD high end, JRPG, which is, a very slim field, right? A lot of JRPGs, one of their biggest issues is production value, animation quality, and the like. Over time, though, they've seen the sales of other, RPGs in different genres, chasing things like the Soul series, with some of their offshoots, which, again, nothing wrong with that, with some of their offshoots, but then eventually, it would eventually affect their mainline games, which, like I said, Final Fantasy 16 was a solid game. I mean, I got the platinum. I know several of us, in fact,
Yeah, I
got the
got the
platinum.
platinum as well.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not that we didn't enjoy the game. It's just I have to laugh at the internal expectation and inability to understand the global market from Square. This is something that Kojima has spoken about a lot of Japanese developers and kind of their tunnel vision, or lack of global awareness when developing games. A lot of them are kind of in a vacuum, right? And you can surmise this from a lot of the comments from the director and some of the other people who worked on the game. They have a really specific view of not only the outside world versus development, but they're kind of like in their own world. Um, so they kind of look at things, from the outside looking in, and they're like, oh well, this is happening, so this will work. We should do this, versus understanding, again, how to maximize what they are good at, while you can still add new things, right? And explore new aspects. And that's what I think some of the other devs are really good at, or have gotten good at in the meantime, while Square's, I don't know, Square's kind of seems like they're trying to find themselves, right? They're always looking for that next big thing. They get a little too ahead of themselves, chasing their version of Fortnite, as far as the next big thing. The same way people were chasing
Splatoon.
they tried to do the Splatoon thing. They tried to do a bunch of stuff and instead of, again, focusing on what they are good at, and giving people, like you said, longtime fans, what they really wanted from them. And they ended up creating, of course, with Final Fantasy 16, anybody who's played it, a very stripped down RPG element game, which is essentially an action game. And again, it did just fine. It did what Final Fantasy typically does, but their expectations were 10 to 15 million plus, because they went action based and they thought that was the key
Yeah,
to getting a ton of people invested. And again, we keep telling people, stop trying to please people who, this is a game development issue in general, right? Stop trying to please people who are not your fan base. That never works. It does not work in media. It does not work in books. It doesn't work in anything. Like, we keep warning people, and it's like they're so surprised every time they do this in any work, whether it's TV shows, like I said, video games, whatever. Where, again, they try to please these new people because they're like, oh, we need new fans. And it's like, look, if someone's not a fan already, like, they're probably not going to be a fan because of this. But, sometimes this is a product of also paying attention to social media too much, right? They pay attention to a lot of people who are like, well, I would play Final Fantasy if it just did this or that. And it's like, no, they wouldn't. They're lying to you. Like, you need to focus on creating the best game you can make, that is what you want to create as a developer, and people will flock to it, right? Um, we famously talked about Persona, the Persona series thriving recently. Persona hasn't switched up. Persona didn't change. Atlas focused on creating the best games they could make, and people eventually came, right? Because they just made a good or great game, um, and so on and so forth. And same for the Tales series. Tales of Arise sold the fastest in the series ever. It has also sold the most. They stepped up their production value, but they didn't. Again, they did not compromise the core of what makes a Tales game, right? And now they're bringing back some of the older stuff so new fans can try that stuff, remastering or remaking some of those as well. So I think Square needs to pay attention and be more of a student currently, and watch the way some of these different teams are moving, instead of trying to copy the Western market, because it's like you're not the Western market. You're not a Western dev. Um, so again, they definitely need to watch themselves, and also measure their expectations and their projections for some of their games. Like a lot of people said, the initial sales for Tomb Raider were actually really good. The initial sales over like a year and some change were like over 7 million, and they were extremely disappointed because
Tomb
they
Raider is their best
expected it to
selling
be 15 million.
2013. Tomb
Yeah.
Raider, the first one is their best selling single player game ever,
Yeah,
and it wasn't enough
and it wasn't enough.
ever.
Yeah, so they've
Like,
definitely got
here's the
some
question.
issues.
If Tomb Raider sold that much, which I believe, what did they pay to make it so? Why are they, saying that it didn't do well then, sales wise?
They
I
didn't say
I
do well. They
I
didn't
think
get as much as they wanted out of it.
I
But
think the
what
problem
was
with
the expectation?
Square is, I think the problem with Square is that they are like, we are the studio that makes Final Fantasy,
Yeah.
right? We're the publisher of Final Fantasy. So we see all these publishers, making shit of money with GTA, with PUBG, whatever, right? And they're like, we should be able to do this, right? We should get that money, right? And that's kind of their problem. They're not content with what they have. They're setting their goals, their expectations way too high, because yeah, it might be a certain level of arrogance to think like, we are Square, right? We should have that kind of money. That's
Oh,
Hmm.
I think
that's a
this part
terrible
of it.
thing to think. Oh,
Yeah.
We should outsell God of War, no problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, again, like I said, outside looking in, looking at a lot of the sales of other things, and it's like you could do that. You could do that for your own genre, but it's like if you're not focusing on what you're good at, like, like again, uh, Mercedes, right? Mercedes is not looking to create a top end Ferrari competitor. They have a specific clientele where they design in their frame for customers who drive Mercedes, right? Whether it's the lower end $30,000 Mercedes versus the $150,000 Mercedes or $160,000 Mercedes, but they don't design cars specifically to compete with Ferrari because that's not really their direct competitor, right? Like again, this is about staying in your lane, and Square just can't ever seem to do that, and they've never seemed to have been able to do that. Uh, from the moment they tried a long time ago, and some people will remember this and some people won't, but they tried to make a series that is a strategy RPG series that they had called Front Mission. They went through this phase where they tried to make it an action game, and it failed so bad that most people don't even know it exists. It was terrible. They basically tried to imitate uh, Armored Core, but make it almost like cartoony. It was terrible. Again, it was another phase. It was another phase, or the first phase they went through, where they tried to switch up, and they were like, we're going to make all these different games, and we're going to expand as a company, and we're no longer going to be like the RPG guys. And it's like, but we want you to be the RPG guys. Again, this is the same thing we go through with people wanting other things from PlayStation, right? Uh, no one does single player, you know, single player, third person narrative, action adventure, and or RPG elemental games quite like PlayStation, right? At the level that they do. But everybody's like, no, like I want them to do this, this, and this because other people like uh they like multiplayer games and this and that, and they're not really satisfied with what's on offer there, and they want as famously me and Morgan always talk about, people want the God of War 2018 of multiplayer games, right? They want a reboot to that series. They want something so fresh and so new. They want something to just feel like I don't got to play COD anymore and topple that. And it's like, it's not that simple, and it doesn't work that way, right? When you're good at something, you're good at it, and that's what you kind of need to stick to, right? You incorporate other people and other teams to try and achieve those goals, but don't rock the boat. Essentially, don't knock off these companies from what they're good at and what they want to create, because that is what gets a lot of these teams to thrive creatively and create the great games that we really love. Like, I mean, we've all seen examples of teams forced to make games and it never comes out right. It's always a struggle. um, but yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a very big gap in issue with Square. Like I said, their projections versus reality uh, have been a problem for a very long time. Like we brought up with Tomb Raider, which again sold very well, and then they still didn't like that. But yeah, Morgan, did you want to add?
Yeah. As someone who isn't like a old school Final Fantasy fan, I'm pretty new to the series. The only games that I've played from them are really the Final Fantasy remakes and 16.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to
Oh,
be
and
honest, like,
Octopath, but yeah,
well, I was speaking on the Final Fantasies
got you.
strictly, but I'm just I don't know. I'm not that impressed. Like, they're cool, they're okay, but they're
Mm-hmm.
nothing to write home about for me personally.
They
I
ain't
could
been in 20 years, so
Yeah, I could take it or leave it when it
Yeah.
comes to Final Fantasy. Um, but I completely agree. Like, the saying, like, when you try to serve everyone, you end up serving no one.
Absolutely.
Um, they definitely seem to have like an identity crisis going on when it comes to Final Fantasy. Like, I mean, when I was playing 16, I enjoyed it. I platinumed it, but like we all was just like, okay, so this is like basically Game of Thrones, essentially. Like, he took a Game of Thrones story and wrote it into Final Fantasy 16 and made it an action adventure kind of game, more so than an RPG. Um, and it was cool, but I could definitely tell like they were trying to definitely cater to the more Western audiences with this game. And I agree with you. I always think that's the wrong move, right? I think you should cater to your fans first, and if your fans love a game, it'll get out there. The same
Exactly.
way with games like from Soft, right? Dark Souls and Souls like games, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty niche before.
It
But
was.
then, we had Elden Ring drop, got like, 94 or 5 whatever on meta, because it essentially, I guess, doubled down on what people loved about Souls. And because of that, it not only reached the Souls audience, but it reached past that, right? They were able to grab people who don't necessarily like Souls games or didn't really know what Souls games were, and exceed their expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that when you have even streamers, the biggest streamers in the world, like Kaisenet, streaming your game and getting even more people to play your game, right? And then not only play that game, because he enjoyed Elden Ring so much, he started playing other Souls games, right? Which put people onto all of the different, Souls games. So it's just like, I don't this whole thing, and it's not just a Square thing. I've noticed this a lot. I mean, you say the same thing with Concord too. Like, when you try to follow trends or cater to a specific audience that's not your audience, or and not even part of your vision, it's essentially gonna cause this rift, right? And people notice that. People know when it's not authentic. People can feel it when it's not genuine. And Final Fantasy just seems to kind of be lost in that. It doesn't really seem to know what it wants. Like, like I hear, Final Fantasy fans all the time talking about, man, I miss the good old days when they did this or they did that, and when Final Fantasy, used to be like the talk of the town, when it used to be the upper echelon of JRPGs, right? And it just doesn't really seem like they know what they want from the series anymore. Like they're trying to, even the director, we're trying to mass market it. We're gonna make it, we don't want to make it turn based because people seem to like action based more. So we'll do that instead. We'll do more of a story based kind of thing, action adventure more than RPG. We'll do this and this because that's what seems people will buy and what will sell, and that's dumb. Like like that's so dumb because then a few months ago we had a trailer for Expedition 33, turn-based, inspired JRPG inspired game made by Western developers, and everybody flocked to it. People were like, "Oh my god, this looks so flipping good!" People were just talking about it, for weeks after release because the quality of it and what it looks like. It's it may be innovating on turn-based, JRPG style combat, and people flock to that. But for whatever reason, Square thinks, oh, because turn-based isn't as popular as action-based, we got to make action-based games for it in order for us to sell. And it's just like
not just action-based, but dumbed down action-based games.
Down, like not even RPG.
Yeah.
Like just straight action. And it's just like, that's cool. I played plenty of those, but do what you do best. Do what your studio is known for. Where you're like, you have to bring that distinct flavor if you want to rise above mediocrity. I mean, it's just that's just what it's gonna take. It's gonna take, you have to go back to what made Square. And I think that's what fans want. And I would love to play a game like that. I want to feel what they felt back in the late 90s, early 2000s of Square.
Fire.
With Square was fire. Like I would love to experience a game like that because I'm definitely not going back to them old ass games to do that. But
get your ass time machine, head back to the 90s.
Exactly, because that's exactly how I would have to play it because I'm definitely not playing now. But I would love to experience that what old school Final Fantasy fans had from Square, and I think like Weeb said, Square is just too focused on the bag that they feel that they. I agree with Weeb. I think it's like an ego thing. Like they feel like, okay, we're Square Enix. We should be able to get the same as a Rockstar or a Ubisoft or a EA or something like that. And that's why their sales expectations are crazy high because they think, okay, so we're Square. We just released Final Fantasy. Okay, the upper echelon of games, the game of games, the games that started all these games. So they should be selling 30, 40, 50 million. Right, no less. That's what our game should. We're fucking Square Enix, and when they don't do that, they're like, wait, hold up, what? Why? Like it's like, oh man, what a disappointment. We didn't sell that, and I'm just, I'm like, but people blame it on exclusivity, the PlayStation or whatever. And I'm gonna be honest, even if it wasn't exclusive, it still wouldn't have done what they wanted because at the end of the day, it's not doing anything revolutionary to garner what garners those 50, 60, 70 million sales for the top games. Like it's not doing anything that would have generated that revenue anyway. So, cool if they want to go to the multi-platform route. I don't have any issue with that. I mean, if they think that's what's best for their business, go for it. But I don't think like if the next Final Fantasy 17 or whatever they decide to release, right? If it's multi-platform releasing on everything, I still don't think it's going to reach their expectation. They're still going to be like, yeah, we were disappointed with the overall sales because they have this astronomical number in their head that they think their game should reach. And unless they start going back to the OG formula of what made Square, I don't think they're ever going to get to this number that they have. And that's just me. That's just me looking from the outside. Like, because I absolutely love Octopath, right? Platinumed Octopath 2. That is something that's a formula that Square needs to be focused on. Now, it didn't make mass because, it's a smaller game and not really a lot of people know about it.
That team got bought. They're fucking shit out of luck with that.
I know. But it's just that, reaching into that pocket, going, into that type of creativity, that type of storytelling, that type of just art direction, that those things, that's what Square needs to focus on right there. Now if they made that into they packaged what made Octopath so great and put that into like a AAA package, I feel like they would have a hit on their hands. But they don't want to do that. They want to cater to everybody who's not a Square fan, and try to garner all those mass numbers. And I don't think that's going to work in their favor, and they're going to continue to be disappointed in the years if they don't tone down their expectations and focus on what makes them great. Be Square. Don't try to be the next EA. Don't try to be the next Rockstar. Don't try to be this. Just be Square Enix, right? Do what you do best. And I just I'm a recent, everybody knows I'm a recent JRPG fan. Just started getting into it, thanks to hanging out with these guys. I've started playing JRPGs, especially, and I've grown fond of, especially of turn-based JRPGs. And when I get a good one, I'm all in. You know what I'm saying? I'm playing the Persona series, absolutely love it. Played Octopath 2, absolutely loved it. Like, I'm really enjoying that, and I feel like if Square put half the effort, like I said, that they did in Octopath 2 and made a big AAA turn-based Final Fantasy, I feel like people will flock to it, especially if they, try to innovate it and make it more, update it, don't just, do straight turn-based, do something different, obviously we haven't played Expedition 33 yet, so we don't really know what it's going to offer, but from the looks of it, it just looks fresh, it looks new, it looks something that,
they obviously
will be
took
exciting.
a lot of inspiration from the stylization of Persona, the way the menus and the screens kind of flare and jump out at you, but also having the active responses in combat, because that was a big that was a big funny thing that we laughed about, when people didn't understand, they were like, why would you stand there and get hit? Now obviously if you play turn-based games, that's not how that works, but to show a difference, in their game, they added an ability where you can respond, during combat, even when you're on the defensive, for those people who do have that inkling to press the button, right? So it's like you satisfy two different worlds. You still got your turn base, but the people who have that, inkling to hit the button, kind of like the Final Fantasy director was saying, they've given people that while not sacrificing the turn-based combat they wanted to create. They created something new.
Yeah, and that's my point, because Square Enix, they're kind of the goats of turn-based, and they should have been the ones that have, were bringing on the next step of innovation for turn-based. They should have been the ones that been like, oh shit, this is something new. This is something JRPG fans and turn-based fans haven't seen yet, and Square is the one leading that initiative to, change it and innovate it for the better. And I think that's why everybody, and that's why everybody after watching Expedition 33 was like, damn, this is what Square should have been doing. Like, what people looking at Square like, bro, what? Like, this is what we wanted from you. What the hell? So I just, I feel for people, for the fan base like that, especially when it's a series that, it was very beloved for you, especially growing up. And, it's still around, but it's just not making the moves that it used to, and not, pressing on the heartstrings like it used to for you. It's always sad to watch one of your favorite series just kind of slowly die out. Exactly. And it just feels like that way with Final Fantasy. Like, it's just like, if they don't do something, I feel like they're gonna end up like just
that's slow. This has been 20 years of
the slow death.
The purse strings are getting even tighter. So I feel like if they don't do anything to get these, sales up, I feel like they're going to end up, I don't know, hanging up Final Fantasy or something. But then again, it's just like, what would they do? Like, that's really their main bread and butter.
It is.
Their other IP dies, so they can't use anything else.
Yeah, that's my point. So it's just like,
I don't know what they're going to do, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's
bring back Vagrant Story.
Well,
the old fuckers, you know what I mean?
Because they got rid of their Western division, so yeah, but they, again, I don't, don't crucify me, because I really don't know all that about Square Enix. You know, I'm a new Square Enix customer, so
But you've been
yeah,
able to identify even coming into it later, where it seems like they're comfortable with certain things. Like I said, when you played something like Octopath and really seeing them thrive in that turn-based
yeah.
space,
Octopath 2
and
for me
you
was
know,
was the best game that I played for them thus far.
yeah,
Like
it was
it was
phenomenal.
phenomenal. I loved it. I'm now that they've finally released
I wonder
Octopath
if they can
1
make a new tactics that they can do well or something.
something. Now that they've released Octopath one on PS5, I'm gonna go back and play that too when I have the time. But yeah, that's been the best series for me so far that I played from them. You know, that I played a couple Final Fantasies.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that stood out for me, and that was the smaller, more AA game. And that's what they need. They need that, but on a bigger scale. And I promise they would get they would draw people. They would get the fans and newcomers, because what word spreads when people really love a game, it reaches beyond just the internal fan base.
Exactly.
So, Square's gonna have to buckle down or something. I don't, they don't have to. I don't know, because they have like a new president or whatever, and I was kind of hoping he would be like, let's make Square, great again.
Yeah, yeah. For lack of a better saying, yeah.
For lack of a better saying, right? And he kind of put the refocus on what made it special, and because that's what they need. They need that, but with a little new blood in it. So then that's my perspective. It's just I feel like they've just lost what made them special, like a lot of developers are trying to do, which is
Yeah.
chase. We've seen in these past few years, chase trends instead of instead of doing what you're passionate about, and doing that the best you can. No, it's just about chasing that bag now.
Oh, we
Everybody
definitely
just
gonna
wants
talk
to.
about chasing trends in
Oh yeah,
just a second.
oh yeah. That's just the cadence of this generation. Everybody just wants to chase trends, which is why like the coolest and a lot of innovative and creative stuff usually comes from the AA to single A sector. Because they're the
Exactly.
ones still trying to chase creativity and do new things and things like that. And AAA, because it's such a huge investment, monetarily wise, resource wise, people wise, they want to go with what's safe, right? They spend hundreds, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, so they want to follow the safe route, the safe bet. Like, oh, this is the type of game that the mass market likes, so that's what we'll make. If we're going to put this much money down, we're not going to be creative. We're not going to take risks, right? Because risking is how you lose money, and it's very unfortunate, but it's definitely it's the effect of the game industry becoming so much more expensive. Back in the day with PS1 and PS2, games didn't cost that much, so that's why people are like, man, why can't we go back to that era?
Why can't we take more risks? It's why because one game costs the cost of 100 games that it used to be.
Yeah,
Like put 100 games into development.
PS1 and PS2, they had such a variety of games because those games didn't cost much to make.
One successful game could pay for 10 failures.
Exactly. They it didn't cost a lot to go in, and
I think
Sony make a lot of money
between
200
and 300 games on PS1. Why? It's like, oh, we need 800,000 to make this game. Like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. They got money to spend.
Somebody, hey, we need 100 million. Like, how much?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a different ball game then.
Yeah. So one game costs what, like Nelson said, 20 games would have cost back in the day. So you can't take those risks that they used to, those creative risks and everything that they used to do. So it's just, it's sad, but I mean, that's just what happens when an industry grows, right? You end up spending, as the years go by, you spend more and more on tech, more and more on advancements. People want the graphics to obviously, advance with time. Right, we don't want to keep playing the same graphics that we were playing in PS1 and PS2. People want the 4K, they want the frames, they want the fidelity.
There's more pixels in a character now than there were in games damn near back in the day.
Absolutely, that's what people want, right? But then at the same time, they complain when they get it, and they're like, "Oh man, but I wish it would go back." But then when they get a game that they don't think looks good, they're the first ones to complain, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people were so upset with the way Rise of the Ronin looked. I remember that people were like, "Oh my god, this looks like PS3. It's ugly. It's this and this and that." And I'm like, "But that's what y'all were just chanting that y'all didn't want that companies need to stop focusing on graphics and stop focusing on, and focus on gameplay. And that's the perfect example of a game that focuses on gameplay.
It's really
exactly.
good.
It's great. It focuses on gameplay over graphics, and people were upset. They were like, "Oh, what? I'm buying a PS5 for that? That's not up to par." And I'm like, "See, that's my point. That's why I'm tired of hearing y'all be disingenuous when you say, "Oh, I don't care about graphics." Yes, y'all do. Y'all absolutely care about graphics.
Gamers are the worst because it don't matter what you do or how many people they try to please. We always bitch about everything. It don't matter. You
That's what
cannot
I'm
win.
saying.
I don't care what nobody says.
People say all the time that they want Sony to focus less on graphics. But if Sony were to put out a game that looked like Rise of the Ronin, they would be the first ones with pitchforks and torches ready to be like, "Yo, Sony, what the hell is this? This is ugly.
Yeah,
this isn't like,
they definitely don't want that.
Exactly." So it's just like, I mean, I understand that, obviously, photorealism is different. Just because something isn't photorealistic doesn't mean it can't look good. I like, before people come for me, I play all types of games. Most of the games I play are not photorealistic. My most favorite, type of games are pixel art games, stuff like that. Octopath was my game of the year over Spider-Man 2.
Which is huge when people know you.
Yeah, I love. I'm a Spider-Man girl. Okay, absolutely love Spider-Man. But Octopath 2 was my game of the year.
But okay.
Octopath 2 is my game of the year, and it's pixel art. I like, art style obviously is very different than graphics, right? You can have a completely different art style, but it looks freaking fantastic. Octopath 2 is a beautiful fucking game. And I hope we get a third one, eventually. But yeah, it doesn't take photorealism to for a game to look beautiful. But even with pixel art, if PlayStation was to release a game like that, people would be upset.
Yeah.
If PlayStation wants to release an Octopath type of game, people will be like, I'm not paying for these small little games, bro. I'm not buying a PS5 for these indie games. I'm not buying a PS5 for these pixel graphics. I'm buying a PS5 because I want to play a game that looks like The Last of Us or Ghost of Tsushima or Horizon. But then when you give them that, they're like, "Oh man, they're focusing too much on the graphics and not on the gameplay." So it's just
Imagine if PlayStation came out with a Pentiment.
Exactly. And I love Pentiment. And so it's just like, you can't win. You can't win. You can't win with gamers. They say one thing, but they mean another. And that's just the way it is with them. That's why you have to just focus on what you're good at, right? You can't listen to the gaming zeitgeist because they say one thing and mean the other. Right?
Absolutely.
That's why I'm absolutely against gamers or developers chasing trends, because it's like you're not going to gravitate towards that audience 9 times out of 10, because they're already on a game that gives them what they want. And if you're chasing that trend and you're just giving them a copy paste, they're not going to leave what they already know to go and play your game.
You're just going to be seen as the Me Too product.
And you're just going to be like, oh,
that's
just
going to go back.
It's a copy of that game. Oh, it's an Overwatch clone. Oh, it's a Guardians Galaxy clone. Oh, it's this clone.
Said about
talking about.
Yeah, and that's what happens. It's just
Overwatch clone.
Yeah, and
seen it, and yeah.
But that's just what happens.
Guardians of the Galaxy clone. Yeah.
And so I'm just I'm a big proponent of doing what you're passionate about. Make what you want and not what other people want, because it'll come out in the game, right? If you have a good concept, obviously, it's not guaranteed that your game will sell, but I'm always going to be like, make what you're passionate about and not what the hell the executives want from you, and that's why for me the indie industry is thriving, and they're doing a hell of a lot better for me than a lot of the AAA, because they make what they're passionate about, and you can feel it when you play the game. The creativity and the story that they're trying to tell, and the different gameplay mechanics that we get out of it, like, it's just, I mean, I'm loving indies. So if you're feeling kind of stale towards the AAA industry, which a lot of people are, try to play something in the AA, single A sector. I promise they'll have something for you. Give it a try. And if you don't want to put your money down, if you're subscribed to a subscription service like PS Plus or Game Pass, there's plenty of indies in there for you to try to kind of get your foot wet and then figure out what you like. But sorry, this went on an indie rant. But yeah, Square needs to definitely get back on point. They need to start catering to their fans first, and go from there. Make the best games, that the fans that they grew up on. Go back to what made them great, and I mean, I promise, new fans will flock.
Absolutely.
That's naturally just what happens. So,
And it's not that you can't switch it up, right? But it's like if you do, you need to do it in a way that actually makes sense, that actually
I
is
mean,
improving the game, or
exactly. Look at
doing it well.
yeah, like Weep said, look at Yakuza, right?
Well,
I mean,
that's where I was going with that
yeah,
example.
they have switched up their gameplay, their the way the gameplay style, the story, the characters that are the main the faces for the series. And they've branched out into a way that everybody has liked, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they are killing it in as far as not only quantity, right? Like they're releasing so many games, but they're all quality. Like I
Agreed.
don't think any of them have like disappointed. Like they've all been
Nope.
fantastic.
They
So
have.
it's just like that's
It's a
what's
good game series because there's no bad Yakuza game.
exactly.
Yeah, I
That's the
mean they're
thing.
killing it. I can't argue there.
They are
Mhm.
and they're doing turn based. They're doing they switched to turn based from action based, and everybody it was a natural.
RGG had like 3,000 people. They got like 300, and they're coming out
They are
Judgment
like
and Remastered
they are
and
beyond
Yakuza game.
Insomniac out here.
Yeah, they way more efficient than any.
People.
Because every year they got like a game, a remaster, a smaller, bigger game. Like every year they're coming out with 2
exactly.
games. It's like how many fucking people? I thought they had like a whole publisher on
Nah,
that
it's hard
shit.
for me to keep up on the timeline. Like, oh man, okay, this
But-
this is
but-
connected to this.
But that's the difference. RGG decide, okay, look, we've been making these brawler games for a long time, and we're gonna we're gonna wrap up the story of Kiryu, and we're gonna introduce new protagonists, and we want to switch it up. And instead of chasing market trends and dumbing it down, they said,
Exactly.
no, we want to make a turn-based game. Right,
Mhm.
like fuck you, turn-based games aren't popular. We're gonna make a turn-based game, and you're gonna like it.
Yep.
And guess what? We liked it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
And
not to mention, just because they made a turn-based game doesn't mean they forgot their origin, which is why Judgment.
They're making a variety of different type
Yeah, no,
Yakuza
but-
type games and Judgment and
look-
all that kind of stuff. They're making a whole bunch of
they-
different shit.
Look what they did. They made Yakuza turn-based
Mhm.
and split it up where they can actually make it action-based, but they have Judgment as their main quote-unquote Yakuza spin-off. That's
Yeah.
still the core Yakuza.
Exactly. Like Yakuza essentially has their own like cinematic universe the way they're setting it up, and I love it.
They
Like-
didn't follow someone else. They
Yeah.
followed their own route,
Mhm.
and it's paying off.
Yeah, and it was a
Mhm.
natural progression to turn based. It didn't feel it didn't feel like it was like, oh, they did this because they're like everybody said they're trying to trace trends or whatever. No, it felt right, and they did it in a way that was funny. It was fun. It fit
Yeah,
it fit
felt
actually the
very
Yakuza
RGG.
story.
Yeah.
It did, and they did it with the RGG stamp. That's what people
And
want.
the
You.
Yakuza
That new
game,
gory game looks fucking fire too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Or
And it's
Goro,
just
I
like,
mean.
at the core, they are still RGG, and that's the thing. You can still whatever type of play style. People saying this is the newer one is more Devil May Cry like, but whatever play style they try to go for, they still have that RGG feel to it, and that's the thing. You can't just switch it up and be like, okay, because people who play, like I said, I am not a Final Fantasy fan, but people who are playing Final Fantasy 16 was like, man, this does not feel like a Final Fantasy game. This just kind of feels just like some kind of organic, like, or not organic, but just some run of the mill action game, right?
Yeah.
But the thing with, exactly, and it's just like, regardless of what playstyle you're playing, when it comes to RGG, it always feels like an RGG game at its core, and that's the thing that Square just seems to be missing. They're just chasing trends and not putting that Square Enix stamp on it, and that's why people are. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's also what with the new game they announced. So it's not just okay, we're gonna go back to the brawler style. Like no, we're gonna go all the way. Like we're gonna make it need like a Devil May Cry style because we're giving Majima one of has been playable before, but never was sort of the star of his own game, and now he is. And like if you know Majima, he's crazy. His fighting style is insane, and that
Mm-hmm.
makes perfect sense to have
I
Exactly.
him
mean,
fight like that.
we had Zero. He was playable in it, and his fighting style was fantastic.
Yeah, they
The
they've
fact
Yeah.
that
been they've been all over
only
the place,
now,
and it's not just as great, even RGG, but like literally just like Sega's essential other teams, the teams that get to act autonomously, RGG, Atlas, like they've been on fire like this entire time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just
That,
funny to think they
Three
were
things a year,
originally
regardless of
seen as a
remaster or
failed
whatever.
team. Yeah, they were seen as a Sega in general, right? Because when they went third party originally, and now they've basically come back and remain themselves, true to their core, even coming back with,
Mhm.
I mean, it's not for me, but for people who are excited about Crazy Taxi and all this other stuff, they basically saw like, hey, look, people really like what we did over the years, and sticking to that has now garnered so much uh so much for them, and even has increased in sales, right? Persona 5 initially breaking through and selling over 5 million copies before it even went multi-platform, right? Selling over 5 million just on PlayStation alone, getting into the realm of higher end selling RPGs, and the like, the expansion and gradual explosion of Yakuza. Even when they switched it up, right? They famously sold it was the fastest selling in history for the Yakuza series. So it's like, again, even switching it up, you can still sell like crazy. You can still improve. You can still garner more and more fans. But it's like the key that I take away from all those two in particular with RGG and Atlas, they don't half step anything, right? Like when
Mhm.
like I was weird. Don't get me wrong. I was like, how is RGG gonna make a turn-based game? Like, and then when I played it, it was phenomenal. It was still very much Yakuza, but they didn't half step into turn-based, and it wasn't like something they just treated like a side project or like a switch up. You know what I mean? Like they felt like you couldn't have told me they didn't have years creating turn-based games after I played this game. It was so unique. It was so them.
they did the research
Yeah, like
and kept it faithful to
yeah,
the
they did.
franchise.
And it's like,
Yep.
again, man,
And you
like
didn't hear
PlayStation needs to do that, or
any
not PlayStation, but Square.
where yeah, you didn't hear any of the RGG fans like, man, it's turn based now. It doesn't feel like Yakuza anymore, man. It doesn't feel like no, it still had that Yakuza flair, that Yakuza touch to it,
Mm-hmm.
just with the new gameplays. They put their spin on it, right? So it felt natural. And that's the thing that's missing from Square. Like they switch up, but they're not putting their Square stamp on it. And that's the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, they're definitely, like you said, having an
16,
identity
it was like
crisis.
the combat was all right, but I was like, where's the magic? Where's the summons? Where's the,
There you
you know what I'm
go.
saying?
The Square
I got
touch.
no fight. I got in this action stuff, but let me summon Bahamut. You know what I mean? Throw some Final Fantasy up in that bitch.
Yeah, it was definitely missing their stamp. I don't know what they're gonna do going forward. As especially for them as some of their directors get
You
towards
seen the leak?
retirement age. Uh,
You seen the leak
the leak of what?
of what's their next
I said, but my son just said you can't even cure in Final
idea
Fantasy
is?
16.
They wanna remaster, or they're busy remastering one of the worst Final Fantasy, which is the 13
Are they,
13.
do we know that for sure, or is that a rumor?
I mean, from the look of it, this is the same dude that leaked other things, so
All right.
we're gonna see. But
But
if it's
but
true,
here's the thing with back to their sales, right? Like I think said it in the chat before, but the problem is as well is the way they develop games. some of their games are like crazily long in development. And on one hand, you got to appreciate that, where other studios would just cancel the game, they just keep on developing. But you're never going to make that money back, even with Japanese salaries that are not as, it's not as expensive to make a game in Japan as it is in the States or in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it's crazy that you're never gonna like. It's not surprising that you're gonna set your expectations high, but it's more like you have to set them high because to make your money back, you need to yeah, sell like
Do
God
you?
of War or Spider
Do
Man, like,
you?
and you
You can,
and they're
God of
never.
War's in
actually,
California, so
actually,
their salary's got to be double what it cost
what
them.
Yeah,
Place,
yeah,
good
but
God.
the
yeah,
thing is,
but no, add time to it, right? I mean, even if they have like half the salary, if you take 10 years to make a fucking game, you're that you're never going to make that money back. That's kind of the problem with them, and I think that probably is also part of that ego thing. I think that they did recently said they're going to change sort of
Mm-hmm.
the way that these units are isolated, but it's kind of thing like you're sort of like on in a man in a high castle, so you're looking down on people and okay, you're making your thing, you think you're hot shit, you're the you decide what's in fashion, right? That's sort of
Mm-hmm.
their attitude to development. And then they find out, okay, we clearly misread, the market, or we're behind, and then they're gonna scramble and panic and try to, oh wait, tower defense. We heard that was hot once. I'm gonna make a tower defense game, something like that, right? I mean, that's the way they're chasing trends, and
Mm-hmm.
it just like that's kind of the problem is it's twofold, right? That them chasing trends, but also that they're just r- again ego, right? They have blindfolds on, saying, okay, we're just gonna do our thing, and that's normally that's great, but if you're completely ignoring anything that's going around in the rest of gaming, then you're gonna fall on your face because it's never going to meet your expectations. Like, and like I can't imagine how much money Rebirth costs, because that's gonna
oh, Rebirth
even for
was just bloated.
yeah, exactly. And that's kind of thing. Like I kind of like if
Nobody asked for it to be so bloated, though.
yeah, and I mean, look again. It's a great game, and you can appreciate that they went the effort to to introduce a gameplay mechanic that's only used for one side quest. But on the
Mm-hmm.
other hand, you could ask like, okay, is this worth it? If I was like in charge of that project, I would have said like, guys, do we really need this? Can we
Half
let
that
this
game
stuff?
out, and it would have been better for it. I think
Yeah.
that's my personal opinion.
Absolutely, I think, and that's the other thing. I finished it, but I have no interest in going back and play it because
Me
it was
neither.
I was exhausted. After I finished it, like I never wanted to see it again. Like I loved it, but on the other hand, like there was just it went on for too long. There was just too much to do. It was basically over engineered.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. You can't basically do too good of a job where you're just
What
overindulging
was the
yourself
definition
and
of
you're
a checkmark game?
yeah you well yeah partially, yeah, but it's sort of the problem is that you're probably not really thinking about the gamers in that extent, but more about, okay, what you want to make, and that's fine. You have to stick to your vision. That never make a game cater to gamers, but be aware that people are going to play that game that aren't you. That know your audience, but also know the average gamer. Don't make a game where you have to do very complicated things to just do a stupid side quest. Like that's not what people are like. Anything you do to waste their time. Like if you feel they're wasting your time, yeah, there's a good chance people are going to drop it or not interested in your product, and that's yeah, I mean that's on you because you didn't read the room right, and yeah, I mean that definitely I think that definitely contributes to the fact that they always have these expectations that are that are never met. Like obviously, like I said, I think they definitely have, like, we never know, but what their expectations are, but they definitely seem to be that they feel entitled to getting the success that they see other companies have.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, I think they're just writing themselves into a corner that they have to meet the expectations. They sort of, it's sort of a chicken and the egg thing where they're seem to spend a ridiculous amount of money on like making what they think is a perfect game, and then it will always disappoint in terms of sales, even if it sells. Like if a game, like a Japanese game doing 5 million or whatever, Final Fantasy did, like that's a lot. Like that's definitely a successful game, right? Considering the budgets they usually have. But if you're making a game with a budget of a a triple A Sony game, just because you spent so much time on it, or you waste a lot of resources on things that are necessary, yeah, then I wouldn't be surprised that your expectations are that high because you need to make that money back. And yeah, that again, that's on you. Like it's not just a matter of nobody asked for it. It's more of a matter like you aren't. Uh, yeah, you should know better. Like you're, yes, again, creativity is important, but and like if you're that concerned of making making a lot of money with your games, which obviously you should because you need to pay salaries, but if you want to make all the money, then you should be concerned about how you spent that money, right?
Mm-hmm.
You should know that this doesn't make any sense in that, and isn't necessary. And I guess that, like, that's the thing with the long running franchise that's highly rated and highly popular, Final Fantasy, is that you kind of think so you get sort of this diva behavior, right? You kind of think like,
Yep.
yeah, we are the JRPG kings, right? We did this is a de facto JRPG, so we decide what how you're going to play it, and what we're going to put into the game, and you're going to like it because it's Final Fantasy. It says right there, it's Final Fantasy, so we know you're going to like it. So we don't need to listen to you. We don't need to make sure that make a great game that's actually enjoyable to play. No, it's Final Fantasy. Trust us, you're gonna like it. And then they're disappointed that it didn't sell as well as they
Yeah,
hoped it
it
would.
doesn't resonate like they thought it would.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Uh, Real quick. I mean, we kind of nailed them to the wall, but this is exactly what I
Mhm.
wanted. For as I wanted people to really understand, it's a lot bigger than that, and there's a lot of successful teams doing it the right way, which we also mentioned. But before we go to the next topic, because it does involve something very similar,
Very
about
quick.
spending money. Motherfucker, I'm going to you. Like,
Oh,
Jesus. Like, that's why I
I
was
thought
like,
you
I
forgot
wasn't
me.
done. I said before we go to the next topic. Like, literally. But anyway, before Omar interrupted me so he could try to say something, I was going to that man anyway. So, Omar, go ahead and add whatever you want to add to the end of this, and then we'll move to the next topic.
Okay, so very quick. First of all, I grew with Final Fantasy, so I love the franchise. It just hurt the fuck out of me seeing where Square Enix is right now. And the people, and this that make no sense to me. The people that believe if Square Enix went quote unquote full blown multiplat, they gonna get that revenue. No, they're not. What what did their biggest sell on Xbox? Final Fantasy 15. You know, the one that Phil Spencer went ahead and talked to Square to make it not exclusive anymore. It didn't do well. What, 3 mil? I think.
900 something thousand.
No, it was close to 3 mil. I think. I'm not
I
sure,
don't
but
think so.
it
I
was
think he's
very.
talking. I think he's talking about the sales from Xbox specifically. What
Yeah.
that's what Nelson was saying.
Oh,
900,000 on like Final Fantasy 15, which was the first Final Fantasy game in like a long time, like
no,
single
I
player,
thought,
like 10 years or something.
no, I thought 15 did 3 mil on Xbox.
I don't think so.
I don't know where you got that number from. I don't think it was anywhere near that number.
But yeah, so apparently it sold. Oh, never mind. So the breakdown for sales are 80% on PlayStation 4, 11% on PC, and 9 on Xbox. And
There you
it
go.
sold 10 million alone.
Yeah, it ain't 3.
Yeah, it ain't 3 million then.
And
Yeah.
they with their full and they are genuinely believing that if it go to Xbox, it's gonna do gigantic numbers. Look at the Final Fantasy 16 on PC. Like you're not seeing gigantic numbers. Like to me, this feels like
You might need to get closer
Square.
to your mic, by the way. You sound kind of far.
They could just torrent that shit.
This to me feels like this. They look at God of War 2018, and they thought, okay, PlayStation can do it. We should be able to do it. Let's revamp 16 and make it action only. But they forgot you're a JRPG studio. Yes, you want to make it a Game of Thrones type of game, no problem. But where is the RPG element? How can you make a game that is supposed to be action and have less action and combos than Devil May Cry 1? Yeah, it's frustrating. It's beyond frustrating. And then they go out and give us Foam Star. Who asked for that?
It's another example of them chasing trends with the Splatoon success on Switch.
Foam stars, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, Hero. Yeah, it's frustrating beyond belief. It, to me it feels like I would not be surprised in a year or 5 where it's gonna raise the white flag. Kingdom Hearts is dying. They're not gonna be able to rely on that for revenue. Um, for how long 14 is gonna keep making the money? At some point, you're gonna run out of budget from main Final Fantasy game to put in. But to me, what frustrates me about this Square Enix whole thing, it could have been avoided if they just stuck to their guns. They have a chance to make it work. Octopath, that's your future. Don't make it with amazing graphic or whatsoever, but build upon the combat. Make it a bigger world, build upon the combat, and you can go far with Octopath. Like when I first played Octopath 2, I never touched one. I I literally had to go to Innate and say, hey, is this the evolution of turn-based? He disagree with me, but to me it genuinely feels like this is the evolution to turn-based.
I
And
think
then
I think
what
it
we
was a
hear.
good I think it was a good alternative and an improvement to a turn-based system that they have. Just not. But because the reason I disagreed is that evolution implies that all roads should lead to that, and that's what I don't necessarily want that. I don't think everybody needs to do it that way, but I do think
Okay,
it
I
was
got
an
you then.
improvement.
Okay, so then, to me, I Expedition 13, That's what PlayStation and Square Enix should look at. Not only that, Baldur's Gate. Why did Baldur's Gate was able to achieve what they achieved? They stuck to their core. Like, stick to your core fan base. Don't. To me, how many times did we repeat? Did we have one developer from Square Enix shoot himself in the foot?
Plenty of
Comment after
times.
comment after comment after comment after comment.
Yeah, a lot of them
And
have been talking a lot, way too much lately, while in
and
development.
what's the end result? Oh, Kingdom Hearts is dying. That's number one. And number two, and the worst part is we have no idea what to do with Final Fantasy. But the rumor is we're gonna remaster one of the worst line, which is the 13. I can't with you. I can't. I can't. Dude, yeah. How the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, man.
Square is
Square's gonna have to get their
is
shit
no
together.
longer is no longer the juggernaut that used to be, and
For a long
even
time. I don't know why we just bringing this up now.
it's
Yeah, I mean, it has been a long time.
it's a, it's a tough pill to swallow. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Like,
it's been decades.
yeah, but you got like to
Well,
me.
Omar's
I feel
feeling worse lately because of him finding
when
out about the not Final
when I
Fantasy, but
played
Kingdom
when I
Hearts,
Kingdom Hearts and
I didn't
Kingdom
finish
Hearts and
the.
stuff like
I
that.
barely played the last
when
one. Make
when
no
I
goddamn sense
play
anyway.
yeah
Yeah.
no Kingdom Hearts 2 is amazing. Best of
Two's the
three.
best. I didn't even finish 3.
3 is terrible. 3 is
There you go. There's Square
abysmal.
today. There you go.
Square today.
So that's yeah. Let's just move on. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I know, I know.
No,
But
it's
I'm just
genuinely
saying
I
it's
get it.
not
frustrating.
new. I mean, you're thinking PS or SNES and PS1 and PS2. Those were a long time ago though.
they were.
They ain't been that great for a long time.
And
Yeah.
They've been
to
really
me,
hit miss.
they
3
they had
misses, 1 hit.
they had potential with several remakes, and then they fucked it up with rebirth.
They didn't even do a good remake. I bought that Chrono Cross remaster. Like, man,
No,
you
no,
couldn't put a couple million in there? God
I'm
damn.
talking about Final Fantasy VII remake, not Chrono
Wow.
Cross. I heard about the abysmal that was
That's
Chrono
still the
Cross.
best selling game that wasn't Final Fantasy 14 since Tomb Raider, though.
Yeah, this eventual middle-aged gamer said it. Disgruntled middle-aged game. I like your name. Your nickname.
Oh,
I remember back in the day, Square Game Trap, you know it was gonna be good. Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, that was a
But
long time ago,
that's
though.
how
Like Nelson said.
that's how I used to purchase my games. If I saw Squaresoft on the box, I knew I was good.
Yeah, like brand
Brave Fence are my Musa, Parasite
company
Eve,
brand.
Vagrant Story, Xenogears. I mean, we could go on all day. I
All
mean,
day. But so we don't. Let's move to the next topic. We have
Yeah.
nailed them to the cross and then some. Uh, but for good reason, because we all are really passionate about RPGs here. Obviously, we've all been playing Square games for a long time. Even Morgan, who is new to their games with Octopath and so on, has really enjoyed certain aspects of what Square has done as well. We all hope that they recover from this and they find their way and continue to create.
They need extra funds to remaster some of these games. They you talk about there's too many remasters. That's someone who should be remastering. They have the library of games that you could sell 1 million copies for $40 each with a decent remaster that's going to cost you what 10, 15 million.
I mean, they
double
should,
up your
they
money
should,
on a
but
bunch of games.
They've already proven
That
that
they
they really
don't.
won't. So, yeah, I've given up that
Yeah.
fight on the remasters for them. But speaking of misused funds and spending too much money where you shouldn't, Concord. So Concord recently came to light again as unsubstantiated claim at this point, but over the time of development, which was approximately 6 years, not 8. It seems like 400 million was spent over the course of development for the entire game. 200 million taking place prior to their acquisition by PlayStation, and then another 200 million after. Apparently, the game was in rough shape when they originally got it, and they felt they needed to invest that much in order to get it to that point. Again, anyone who's familiar with development costs and things like that when it comes to game development knows that that is a massive budget. Again, it seems a little out there. Again, like I say, unsubstantiated, because until we get proof or documentation, I'm not really sure if that's the exact number on that, because even some people who we know personally who are in game development, who do develop and have developed AAA games before for years, are saying that number seems a little outlandish. We're not saying it wasn't expensive.
A little.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it definitely seems like some misused funds or something. If that case, if that's the case of what happened versus the result of what we saw. Again, this isn't getting on how good or whatever you thought the game was. Obviously, some people played it, they enjoyed it. That is what it is. The game's already pulled, so that ship has sailed. But yeah, cost analysis wise, it seems like something went awry here. Internally, they were stating how they couldn't really say anything negative about this game internally during development, which is another weird thing, because again, if people are familiar with PlayStation's
toxic
MO,
positivity.
yeah, toxic positivity,
These
where you're
days,
just not allowed to say
the kid on the football team, why ain't my kid playing? Cause he sucks, bitch. Get off the field.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, like it seems weird. Like something weird happened internally with the development of this game.
Johnny can't block. Johnny don't fucking play.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's definitely weird, because I think you're about to say, PlayStation's known for giving feedback. I mean, we've all seen the God of War documentary where Shinobi came and played the playable bit that Corey had for the game. He walked out, he was like, "That's ain't it. You need to scrap this. This is not good. Do it again." He was just talking about how, oh man, he came
I'm
and
sending
played
him a
it,
message. Shoot, where was you at?
yeah, she came and played it, and he was not happy. He told us this was not it, and we needed to start over. And because of that, we got the GOAT that is God of War 2018. So shout out to Shinobi for the good feedback. That is what a boss is supposed to do. They're supposed to tell you the bad news that
Yoshida, because you said Shinobi.
Oh shit, my bad. Yoshida. Yeah. My bad. Shout out to you, Yoshida. They're supposed to tell you the bad news, right? That your game is crap. Okay. Like, that's their job. All right. They're supposed to tell you if it's not good, it's not playable, it's missing this element, all that stuff. That's what you're supposed to do when you're in charge of any company, really. You're supposed to be giving feedback, and you're supposed to be giving constructive feedback, and not just coddling artist egos at the end of the day, because that's what it sounds like they were doing. If the story is to be, it's to be believed about Concord and the toxic positivity going on in that studio, like that, it shows you that does not breed a great game. I'm sorry, it doesn't. I get people wanting to be positive and people wanting to be nice and not wanting to hurt people's feelings, but at the end of the day, you are a part of a company, and you're making a product, that you want to sell. And in order to do that, you are going to need feedback, and you're going to need to hear it, whether you want to hear it or not. You're going to need to hear the truth. Absolutely. All right. And if your game is not good, I guarantee you now, looking back on it, I bet they wish they had someone tell them that this was not it.
I bet they do.
Looking back on it, I'm sure all those developers wish they had someone telling them that, maybe you should change this element, or you should add this. These characters they're not good designs. You should probably switch this up, or we should probably do this with the gameplay, or do that. I guarantee you.
Coach, you keep telling the good, he's doing good, but he
but they
don't get no fucking playtime.
Exactly. And it's just
like, bitch, you running in a circle, run a post.
It's sad. Like, and now, regardless of whether that 400 million is true or not, there's still money wasted down the hole, right?
Exactly.
And I have a feeling, I feel like Concord isn't going to come back. I have a feeling that PlayStation is just probably gonna cut their losses and end up canning the studio. And it's sad that this is where they thought investment should go. I mean, they had the whole Herman quote that Concord was supposed to be their Star Wars. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, that part was crazy.
Yeah. Again, all these are unsubstantiated rumors at this point.
Agreed.
So I can't say that this is.
But if
what
that was
said.
stated, Jesus.
But if, Herman, bro, you got. I'm gonna need you to go to your nearest eye doctor and get that immediately looked at, because, bro, no. I'm guessing again this was that during the time when hero shooters were hot. You know, Overwatch was killing it, and they thought, oh man, we're about to catch that Overwatch bag. This is gonna be it. But of course, obviously, by the time this game came to fruition, everybody's kind of got that Overwatch fatigue a little bit. And if you don't really offer anything different, nobody's really going to jump to it. Like, people are liking Marvel's Rivals, and with the previews that people played. But the thing is, that's Marvel though. They get to play with their favorite Marvel character, right? Storm, Spider-Man, so on and so forth. And so because they had those, loved characters and loved IP, right? People are going to flock to that, right? But you don't have that. You don't have that fan base when it comes to this game. So you have to build it. And a way to mess that up is to just not listen to anybody's opinion about whether the game is good or bad. Like, no, we're not trying to hear any negative feedback. It's only positive over here. Okay, and how did that work for you?
Exactly.
How did that work out for you? Only hearing the good things. We're only going to take good fan mail.
I didn't pay that much attention too, but weren't they saying like online people can't? And they're like, "Fuck you! You like him or get?" You know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't like that shit. Like, well, I'm trying to tell you,
it's sad, and it's just like, I honestly don't know what the hell they showed PlayStation, or what line of garbage they gave PlayStation to convince them to jump onto this project. Like, I want that silver tongue, whoever the hell was talking to Herman or Jim Ryan and told them that this is it. I want that ability to be able to lie like that. Like, convince somebody to just give me a bag of money and just pure faith, like, this is going to be.
That's Bill. That's Star Bill Wars. Spencer. Bill Spencer's brother. He works at
not Bill Spencer. And it's just like, I don't know what was going on, but it's like the 400 million. The 400 million, like Nate said, is beyond the point, because it's just like there was just so many bad decisions when it came to that game that were being made. And it's sad to see, because that's just money wasted. That's an IP wasted. That's time wasted on, many of PlayStation fans have a long laundry list of games that they would rather see than Concord, right? And it's just, okay, PlayStation, you wasted that money on that. Okay, and then we have these other live service games coming out, and people are, whether or not they're good or not is not the point. It's just now people have a hesitation when it comes to live service from PlayStation. Now they're gonna have that side eye, like, oh man, is this gonna be the next Concord? Like, do I invest in this game, pay my money just for them to pull the plug later? And that's what people are going to be fearing when it comes to the next live services from PlayStation, right? Because, it's not that PlayStation just made this game, but they had this complete faith in it, right? They thought it was going to be the next big thing. The next, you'd say something like it's going to be our Star Wars. People are going to look at you like, bro, you're insane. So then now this is why I said, this is why I've been saying, like, when it comes to Xbox, and this is not I'm not trying to twist the subject to Xbox. This is just part of what I've been saying. Is like, the reason people lost faith a lot of time in Xbox is because of Phil Spencer's poor judgment when it comes to picking games, right? He's just not good at it. And he's admitted it himself. He's turned down many a good IP that would have probably done well for Xbox, and then said yes to IP
First
that
$1 billion game ever.
Yeah, and then said yes to games that didn't do well. And that's not just him, it's just Xbox in general too, because Xbox turned down GTA 2 or 3, and that did phenomenal. It was exclusive on PS3, and they messed that shit up. And now that's kind of cemented PlayStation's relationship with Rockstar, essentially. But yeah, and now you see PlayStation kind of doing that same thing, and you're just like, they have a good eye a lot of the times when it comes to single player, but because they don't have that experience when it comes to not just multiplayer but live service, because live service is a different animal when it comes to multiplayer, right? There's different types of multiplayer, and live service is its own kind of beast, right? You need that own kind of special, unique sauce for a live service game to thrive. And because PlayStation doesn't have that experience making live service games, I think they had this blind spot when it comes to it, and they just look to what's trendy, right? And at the time when I guess Firewalk approached them or they saw their game, hero shooters were popular, right? Overwatch was killing. I think didn't Overwatch win Game of the Year in 2019, 18, something like, or
40
19,
million
I think.
copies too.
Yeah, Overwatch 2 or something won Game of the Year that year
Yeah,
over
it was.
On a
Uncharted 4.
trend, by the time 6 years rolls by, there's 5 of them out there though.
We don't talk about that.
Oh yeah, I know that was crazy. I remember that. I was like, wait, what?
yeah, that was crazy.
I think that kind of did something with PlayStation when they saw that. They were just like, okay, so this is something big. This is something people really like. And I think that's when they kind of jumped onto that live service. Okay, here's a hero shooter. This could be our Overwatch. And it just did not pan out. I mean, again, I didn't play it, so I can't speak on the gameplay. I can't speak on nothing like that. But initially seeing it, I was not impressed. I was like, well, for one, I don't care for hero shooters anyway. So it could have been the next Overwatch and I would not have cared because that's just not my genre. But, I'm always willing to try stuff if it looks interesting to me, right? Because I'm not the biggest live service fan, but the moment I saw Helldivers 2, I was like, oh, I'm on that day one. It looked interesting to me, right? And I played it and I had fun. But when I saw Concord, I was just like, I mean, okay, cool. The characters don't really look that cool to me. The story or whatever kind of universe they were trying to set up for that game didn't seem interesting to me. I think the real issue was, them initially showing it, that little CGI trailer with the burger on the ship. I think that was unnecessary. Like, I think they waited too late to start actually telling people what the hell it was, and by that time nobody cared. They didn't have enough marketing. They didn't have enough hype.
You start something that's hot now, like if you're not one of the first 2 or 3 games on that cycle of games, like people already found their home. Like that's the thing. Like you're gonna see like 3 or 5 Helldiver copycats coming in the next couple of years. Wait, the first or second one out the door, they failed miserably. That's Battleborn.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna see that, and it's sad because it's like, yeah, cool, you want to make a hero shooter, that's perfectly fine, right? But you have to do something that's going to stand out, right? You have to do something that's going to make your game stand out among the competition, and the harder job, make them leave that other hero shooter that they've invested time, money, years into to jump.
If you play those, you probably got thousands in that.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
too. Thousands.
It's hard to get people because people already have their niche that they're playing. They already have that game that kind of scratches that itch. So you don't have to go.
Good. It's different. You're not trying to pull one from whatever. You got your own new category almost.
And
that's
what they have to do. They have to offer something different for people to jump into.
You can't be the blue color of whatever game or something. I don't know.
That's
like if they're trying to make a Call of Duty, it could be better than Call of Duty. You ain't getting them Call of Duty motherfuckers. You ain't gonna do it. I'm sorry.
And that's the thing. It's like once people get into a game and they're invested in it, even when people get upset with Call of Duty and they be like, man, this sucks. This Call of Duty sucks. I hate it. The game mechanics suck.
They still go and buy that shit.
They still go. They still get it and they still play it because they're just stuck. It's just that's their game now. And I think it's just going to be difficult for PlayStation to kind of work into that. I mean, that's kind of the point of when they bought Bungie, because they're like, okay, here's somebody with experience in live service who's made a popular and successful IP, but it's just like they bought them on their downfall. So it's just like, well, he used to be hot on the streets, but now he's kind of like that has been that he's past his glory days now, but he might still have some advice. The old timer might still have some advice. And I think that's kind of the situation with Bungie. So we're gonna have to see what happens with Marathon and whatever studio that they've
Do,
made when
do,
they incorporated some people.
do we have to see what happens? Can we just close our eyes?
You're right. You're right. Because that's exactly what I did when they acquired Bungie. I was just like, anyway, like the least interesting acquisition from PlayStation I have ever cared about, probably next to Firewalk. I was just like,
canceled. I
okay.
wish. I mean, we'll never find out, but I wish we could find out what those games that they canceled at PlayStation for live service would have done. Because I got this weird feeling like they canceled half the ones that would have done good and focused on the ones that would have done shit. Like,
yeah. And that's the thing with live service and PlayStation in particular. I think that maybe, and of course, obviously, none of us know. I'm just speculating here, but they're comfortable when it comes to single player, and I think they've gotten that cadence down through years of experience. They know for the most part what's going to hit and what's not, right? But when it comes to live service, I think they're a lot more skeptical, a lot more hesitant to jump into a series or back a series. And I think, yes,
these games like this isn't popular right now. It's like that's the point of multiplayer games. You want to be what's popular next, not right now.
But that's the thing,
You know
though.
what I'm
And
saying?
I think because they lack that experience of what makes a good live service game, that they kind of latched onto, okay, let's just get something that's trendy.
What's in
right?
the in right now? You don't want to be what's in right now. You want to be what's in next.
Exactly. Which is why, they kind of didn't really give their full backing to Helldivers. I mean, they did, but it was just kind of like they didn't market it crazy. And I think, like excuse me, like Omar has been saying, they weren't really expecting it to do as crazy as it did. I don't think anybody was expecting that. Shoot, I don't even think the studio expected it to go as crazy as it did, right? But it's like, I think they fear that, okay, if we don't hop on trends, this is going to massively fail, right? And that's what I'm saying. It's like the other live service games that were rumored to be shut down or whatever, they probably were good, but they were probably scared to take that risk on a game.
It was a risk because there's like, well, there's no game out like this. We don't
know exactly
what it's going to do. Well, that's the whole point of it, is that they're doing something that nobody else. That's what's going to make it, give it a chance.
And I think that's what happened. And that's not me excusing PlayStation, because that's not for me. That's not a good reason. I think you should always take a risk. But I think that's what they did. I think they tried to go with the sure bet, even though it's not, obviously it failed. I think they assumed going with a hero shooter would be more of a sure bet than trying to turn one of their own IPs into a live service and then messing up the reputation of that IP by flopping that live service game or something. And I think that's kind of the direction that they went when it came to Concord. I definitely don't agree with the direction, again, because it didn't look anything great to me. I do feel bad for the people who played it and enjoyed it. You put a lot of time and money, or not money, but time behind it, and you were excited about it. But it just didn't gravitate towards.
I don't feel sorry for it. You saw that and you thought, oh yeah, that looks good. Yeah, I mean, come on, you need to get your eyes checked, man.
Yeah, I just think PlayStation felt like they were betting on the sure horse, right? The horse that has been winning in the past few years, and they didn't really want to rely on the up and coming, the newcomer with potential. Because these, obviously, as we see with these rumors, like I said, there's still rumors about the 400 mil. These live services are expensive. They thought they were going to be going with the sure bet that could get them some money, and not like, oh, it may or may not with these other live service.
And that horse turned out to be a donkey.
It did. It was a donkey in disguise. And I think they about to send it to the glue factory, to be honest. But yeah, they about to take that thing out back and shoot it in the shed. But yeah, it's crazy. Like, the more time goes by, the more crazy Concord news we're hearing. And that would also kind of explain why they pulled the plug so quick. Because that's a lot of money.
Like 20,000 people bought it. Like we ain't even made enough to pay for the first month of servers. It wasn't even a week.
They said, okay, yeah, it's been like a week. Okay, we're done. Like, wait, what?
Their initial sales wouldn't even cover the guy.
To be fair, I think they did it so they can use it as a tax write-off.
Oh, yeah, that could be a reason. And it's like, I don't know. It's just like, I feel like with the beta that they had or whatever when it came to this game, I feel like that should have been a wake-up call to them. Like, ooh, because even like, of course, the first beta, you obviously had to pre-order the game, so that kind of shows you the number of people who pre-ordered it.
But then I got a code from a friend, and then they didn't get nobody that bought the damn game, so they're like, play, and nobody still played that shit.
Yeah, and then like the next week was like the free play weekend, which
nobody played that shit either.
Exactly, which should secure people because maybe not everybody wants to pre-order, so people could try it out, see if they like it. And you still didn't generate numbers. You didn't generate buzz. There was no conversation about it. There was some people like, man, this Concord's lit. Everybody needs to get on it. It wasn't a trending topic. Nothing. And I feel like that should have been that wake-up call. PlayStation to be like, this may not be it because those numbers are not looking great. And yeah, it just, it was sad. It's sad to see. It's sad to see. We're gonna see if this was a lesson learned, from PlayStation. Obviously, they pulled, like I said, they pulled the plug quick, and they did slash like the number of live service games they were looking to do in half. So they're learning this lesson because it's an expensive lesson to learn. So it seems that they're picking up at least a little quick. But we're hearing rumors that Marathon is kind of like not it. Like they're kind of like losing faith in that or something. And it's just like, and then we have Jade Raymond's project. They're kind of payday kind of game.
Also, this kind of shit.
And they're kind of, it's another vet they're hoping that'll pull through, right? Because I'm noticing this trend of like these developers or these creative directors that used to be hot making their own studios, and then they come out, make a game, and it's just not it. So let's hope she's still got a little bit of sauce left to make a decent game. But yeah, if this continues, I can see why these remasters keep coming out. They need to make this money back. They're like, look, it's a remaster is a sure bet. You can, especially if it's a beloved IP, you got to get at least. There's a certain amount of people. It's a low cost with a high chance of profitability. So I get it. That's why they're doing all these damn remasters. But yeah, you're gonna have to start releasing some new IP because people, I don't mind remasters, but we need some new games too, please, PlayStation. And I think all this is just adding up to people being sick of PlayStation's silence, and their need to, for whatever reason, to keep the cards close when it comes to what their studios are working on. Their first party AAA, the A team, the A squad, as I like to call them, the Santa Monicas, the Naughty Dogs, the Sucker Punches, those developers. And I think people just want to hear, what's next. I've, and a lot of us in here, we've been gaming nonstop, as you've heard us talk about every week. Like, we have so many games to play, right? So having the games, having nothing to play is not the issue. We just want to know what's next from our favorite studios, right? What's next from PlayStation. And, these type of news adding up is just, with the fact that we don't know the roadmap, is just tiring people out, So PlayStation needs to say something. And then we got this news of this supposed state of play that's going to be happening that's not going to be first party, and it's just like, PlayStation, bro, what are we doing?
It's like, yo, you got a new platform to sell there, guy.
Got the Pro. Can I get some first party IP to play on it, please?
You wait until December because that shit's on sale before December. You want to see some pissed off people? Keep it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, like you said, to refocus. I mean, Concord. Uh, yeah, it sounds like a lot of mistakes were made um, during the development of this game. Prior to PlayStation, during PlayStation, like I said, if that was the case, at least during the PlayStation portion, yeah, they definitely need to uh, revisit how that went and the decisions that they made. And again, man, I better see something here soon because from what we're hearing, like I said, unsubstantiated rumor, but if Herman was largely involved with this being his baby or thinking this project was going to be something impressive, yeah, you need to refer to Yoshida a lot more than you think if you thought this was a hit. So, yeah, they definitely need to reconvene and get together.
Yoshida doing a great job
Hey,
on the indies, but I need him to come back out of that little retirement kind of thing he's doing and come over back to the AAA sector and get everybody back
Oh
on
no!
track.
Oh no! You saw that bullshit with God's games. Like, nah, I'm out. I'm out.
He said, "Let me go
I
over here
really
where
want
the
to
creativity
play.
is."
I want to play a little bit of Devil Advocate. You guys know.
You're terrible
I
at
You
devil's
always play
advocate for
devil.
the
You
for the
always want to
record.
play
let
devil's
me
advocate.
let
Oh my!
me let me make my point.
Oh God, here we
I
go.
despise God and I despise Concord. Okay, but now let's shift gear to the other side. What if when PlayStation was first introduced to the game wasn't looking like this? What if character design was different? What if some aspect of the game was different and they invested in that and gave.
Nah, man. Nah, man. Nah, man.
Can you
That
read it? Hold up.
no,
Yeah, I don't agree
no.
with
From
that.
the same. Listen. From the same mastermind. I say mastermind because at the end of the day, it was Herman Holt's decision to create Horizon. Horizon was a joint project, but at the end of the day, Herman had to sign off yes on it or not. Can you tell me with honesty the dude that okayed Horizon would okay a game like Concord like that?
I mean, but if you also look at the mass gamers, they swear they don't like Horizon either. But at the end of the day, though, single player is different than live service, and that's what I was trying to
I'm
say.
talking
Like,
about the design though.
I mean, but it's different though. You're catering to a different audience, so what may work with single player doesn't necessarily work with live service.
Very true.
Um, you know, so there's
Yep.
there's no vast different characters that you're playing in a Horizon or anything like that. You have one main character. You're not doing different move sets, powers up, stuff like that. Like it's just a different ball game, right? And he doesn't have that experience to know what would hit and what would not. He's looking at it from a business standpoint and not necessarily a gamer standpoint. And he thinks, okay, it's a live service hero shooter arena style game, and that's what's trendy, so it'll work. And he thinks, oh, it's fine, it's great. Yeah, I don't think there was anything different because PlayStation is known to be hands-on, and if it was one thing at the beginning and it changed, they would have made them change it back. Like they'd have been like, no, that's not what you sold us on. That's not what we gave you money for. This is not the vision that, especially now that they own the studio. Like this is not what you said it was out to be. So no, this is not it. So I don't think this was a switch up kind of situation. I think this is, it was obviously going to be different when they showed it because, development changes as you go. But I don't think it was anything vastly different. Like it was one thing when they showed it and completely different when it released.
I
Like
just
I don't know.
can't think for the life of me him actually sign off on that like that. Yeah, like that that Phil Spencer level of a mistake.
I keep trying to tell you these execs, man, they don't necessarily have that gamer eye that a lot of people like. They're disconnected from that. They're looking at it from a business standpoint and what will make money.
Clearly,
And
clearly it made them so much money. I'm surprised. I question if it's gonna cost him his job. I'm not joking.
I don't know about that, but
Yeah.
Especially because he's the one that signed up on it.
yeah, I mean, but if you go with that way, that means that no CEO, no person in charge can ever make a mistake or they get fired.
I mean,
Like,
I mean,
Yeah, I
I
know,
mean,
but I don't think this is ever a mistake this bad in AAA gaming.
I mean,
This is
Phil
not
still
Zero
about
has his
mistakes,
job.
copies.
though.
Goddamn.
yeah, I'm gonna say Phil still
This
got
is
his
a
job after
Yeah.
decade of
almost four
fucking
hundred
up.
Phil's
million
different
dollar
though.
mistake.
Everyone else has been fired from that shit.
He
He's the only
he
one who keeps their job. Even Red.
he wasted $70 billion on acquisition, and Cell puts all his games on PlayStation.
Yeah, and then there's the new thing that came out that said you know, they're behind in their revenue and profits where they need to be.
Oh yeah.
That news just broke.
They're spending like $1 billion to get games in Game Pass. Like, it's fucking crazy. $1 billion a
Yeah,
year. Yeah.
yeah. It's
That's just third party, and they only basically have goddamn
yeah.
what do you call them? Indie games and shit in there too.
yeah. It's just I don't think I don't think Herman's gonna get fired for this. But he's definitely gonna have to answer for this, and
I
he's
bet
definitely
he's
gonna have to
be
come
on
up
a
with
short.
something.
Oh no, the little people are gonna get fired for this.
Oh yeah, the
Oh,
little
yeah.
people now.
Yep.
The people down there.
Well,
I think they're
shit
gonna
rolls
start with
downhill, as they say.
always. I
Yep.
think Firerock's gonna be the first one to feel that fire.
Yep.
Pun intended. But
Look, I just hope, what I'll say from this is, I hope not only did PlayStation as a whole learn something from this, but I hope the people behind Fire, not the people who, you know, wanted to put their heart and soul in this and had some genuine ideas that didn't get put into this game, but the devs behind this that thought this was a good idea. I hope this is a wake-up call for them to pay a lot better attention to you know, what's actually happening, and don't come up with ideas, you know, based on what's hot now that are going to take you 6 to 8 years to implement. Like, that's not a good idea. Like, I'm gonna tell you that right now.
and that's the thing. That's why excuse me. Another reason why I say live service is different from single player, because you can work on a single player game 6 years, you know, and by the time it comes out, it's still
amazing. Yeah.
It's still amazing, right? It's still in trend, right? You know, they're still going to be good. But live service, the trend for live service changes so fast and so frequently that
that's why you can't start making a game off of what's hot. You got to figure out like what's going to be cool down the road.
You try to start a game.
You got to do something new. You got to create something new.
Yeah, you try to chase a
like
trend.
Fortnite capitalized because it was already partly done. Team PUBG, and it was like, yo, we already got a game built. Change it to that shit. Otherwise, that shit would have never been popular.
They basically just transitioned, and then they dedicated.
But all the shit that came after that, done.
Well, people are forgetting.
You know what I mean?
They dedicated basically all of Epic to that game. Like, besides the people that are responsible for the engine, like the Unreal Engine, everybody else at Epic literally works day and night on that game to get what they have in that game. And it's like, for people who don't play it, I frequently have this conversation with Morgan because we're always gaming and chat together and stuff, but people don't really understand why Fortnite has been like unfallible, bro. Like, they don't just sit on their
money
ass.
and resources on.
Well, they don't just sit on their ass and collect, right? They are constantly innovating, adding new things to the game. Like, again, I don't like it, right? But it's not about me, right? I like certain aspects, right? And this is a big thing that you saw a resurgence when they did the no build mode. People like me, Brap, so on and so forth, we all were like, oh, hell yeah, no build mode. I just get to shoot people. Cool, sign me up. We were in. That was a huge resurgence. They brought back like an old school season. Like, again, they're constantly with their ear to the ground.
Lego Fortnite.
Exactly, Lego, which got you to play.
Yeah, I played it because of that. I love me some Lego. They have the car
racing
Fortnite now.
Yeah,
car racing. They have the Guitar Hero style Fortnite now. Like, there's so many things, and they're so quick. They move on it. If an IP is
and it's quality,
trending,
it's not just in for no reason. It's a quality version for them.
if there's some licensed IP that's trendy right now, whether it's Star Wars, Marvel, Alien, whatever it is, they're quick to get their characters like, hey, this season you can get these, you can play as these characters. Yeah. Shut up.
I mean, no,
But
but
it's
they're
like,
trying to get me now. They implemented one of the new suits. You know how I am with Tony Stark and Iron Man.
oh yeah,
They implemented a new suit from Iron Man, and I already got the Iron Man skin, and I'm over here contemplating. Like, that's how they get you.
Yeah. They're yeah, they're just quick with it, and that it's quality. They make sure they put their all into Fortnite, and you know, because they already laid the groundwork, you know, it's a lot easier for them to move quickly and to add things to Fortnite and make it even better and better.
Exactly.
You know, they are so quick with their events and their seasons, and like, it's, you know, the quality and time they put into it. You know, I'm not a Fortnite fan, but I respect it. Okay. They do their thing with that game. You know, it's not for me.
But you can't respect it because of how amazing they are being.
Yeah, but if it didn't have that initial success, they wouldn't be putting this effort into it too. It's a
well, yeah, but they started small, right? Like, again, it started on the initial.
It was an accident. It was basically an accident.
It was an accident.
Yo, that's how most of them start too.
Well, and that's what I said.
PUBG made a ton of Fortnite game. Let's be honest. You see that game when it?
Well, yeah, but the
like
problem with PUBG, right?
Game.
PUBG made the one mistake you don't want to make as a live service game. They got lazy, they got complacent, and someone ate their lunch. That's what happened.
Yeah, they still made billions off a game that looked like it was made by 4 guys in a basement. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no. They made money, but eventually that money dried up, right? Because people were asking for what? Hey, I want new clothes. I want new gear in the game. I want to look like SEAL Team 6. I want to give me more clothes and options and all these things. And Fortnite said, hey, we'll do that thing over here that you're asking, and we'll do it better, and we'll do more of it, and we'll give you more on top of that. So while they were sitting on their ass thinking, hey, we're top shit, somebody, again, like I said, showed up and ate their lunch. But the key on top of that as well was, like you were saying earlier, right? It didn't take them very long after PUBG was hot to implement the Battle Royale mode into Fortnite, right? And it started off very simple. What they did is they made sure they had each of the core elements they needed: a well-designed map, some solid weapons, good balance, and something that was unique to them, right? The build mode. So, you know, Nelson is reverbing. Nelson, you might want to mute yourself. You're reverbing for some reason. Or you're not anymore. You're not anymore, I don't think. Yeah, you're not anymore. But he said they implemented.
I had my hand on my mic because I was talking to my kid.
Yeah, I got you. But
give me the fucking remote.
But yeah, like I said, they did all these things initially, and then they just capitalized on all of them, and they didn't get lazy and they didn't get complacent. That's what I said. A lot of companies, and again, this is another conversation that me and Morgan tend to have, where you cannot for a second stop, you know, internally developing, moving forward, getting ready for the next thing, because that is what keeps live service interesting, right? It's the same problem I told people why no one has really toppled World of Warcraft in years, right? Because like I said, MMOs are another beast, right? Where the amount of content you launch with is going to have to last that fan base a long time, because it takes so much time to make new content for something like an MMO, right? Again, this is why Final Fantasy 14 is the only one that has been able to topple it in years, because they had so much internal lore from Final Fantasy to build on, and they still had to rebuild it after they did the initial launch in order for the game to even take off. So it's never perfect, right? There's no right formula. Like Morgan said, like, there's not the tried and true method of, hey, this is going to be a fire game like single player games. Like you said, like turn-based has been pervasive for years, right? You can create something like Expedition 33. It's not going to not be hot next year because you're launching next year, right? But again, like the Overwatch thing was way too late, right? That whole genre, the hero shooter genre, is not only gone, but it has morphed, right? Valorant is hot now, and Valorant controls and plays way different. is completely different. It's more like a Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike 2 has come out in the meantime, has gained resurgence, and it's like, again, those walls are closing in on your window to launch your thing. And then if you don't launch with something unique at the same time, you're going to suffer for it, right? You're not going to have an in. Why should I play your game is the first thing people are going to ask, right? When I already play this game weekly with the homies and we love it and we're having a ball, can you give me something else, right? And PlayStation did have that, make no mistake, right? I don't know, like I said, we still don't know what happened internally with factions, but prime example, BG went back, just to give an example.
Been different.
Yeah, and
even that you play factions now, it's better than most multiplayer now.
And it was 1 minute or something.
Yeah. He got in on factions.
A couple weeks ago, it took me like 80 seconds.
Yeah, and then he got in full
and a
lobby.
lot of it was loading.
Yeah, full lobby, and it was good to go. Like, because that game, and again, is unique, right? And again, I'm not the biggest multiplayer person, like I said. I used to play COD religiously back when it was actually good.
And
you're what?
Oh,
I think
you're
it's
botting beyond belief.
Is it you or is it?
He's not botting for me.
Then it's you, Omar. Yeah. So anyway, like I was saying, like I said, I used to play COD and all that stuff back then. COD has even gone through its ups and downs and so on and so forth, right, over the years. But look at the teams that Activision has had to dedicate towards the rotation of a game like Call of Duty, right? You're talking about, I think it was like at one point over 1,800 or 2,000 plus people working around the clock for.
It's well over 3,000.
Yeah, it's an
like each main studio is like 800 to 1,000 people, and they have like 10 smaller studios helping them.
Yeah, they have a bunch of.
It's like 4 or 5,000 people.
So, Tight Piper Bob is only on Call of Duty now.
They were, yeah, but not anymore. But
yeah, where?
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to look at the dedication and the amount of effort and people you need just to support these kind of games. And then what happens when you don't get it right? Like, I mean, yeah, Call of Duty was lucky it had no competition for years when it had its biggest downturns. In a down year for Call of Duty is selling, 15 million, right? So it's not like they don't sell and they don't.
I think it's 20. Enough. A big year is 30. 20 is almost like their minimum now.
50,
yeah, that's a down year. 20 is like a down year. They usually sell between 20 and like 32.
But like, you had Ghost, you had Advanced War and stuff like that. Those were some of their lower years. And then they had their comeback years, and so on and so forth. But again, look at the key here is the amount of dedication and amount of teams and effort. Even if you do launch a successful one, look at what it takes to keep it up and keep it going, right? And that's the thing where I think a lot of people do not understand the commitment and that it takes to support some of these games. And some of these studios, they want the Fortnite success, they want the Call of Duty success, but they have no idea what it takes to keep it. And it's like it's a dangerous field, man. Like I said, people want that constant revenue, but it's like, all right, well, you're gonna need to give me constant content and constant upkeep with this game and new seasons and new reasons to play consistently. And again, that's just a tough pill to swallow for a lot of these studios. And everybody's looking for the perfect, the perfect
Rockstar is several thousand people, for like 4,000 or 5,000 people. You see them making a bunch of games? Hell no, they make games.
Yeah, and for that exact reason, right? They were supporting Grand Theft Auto Online for years with quality content, mind you, but it took their whole studio and was tying them up for years. And that's why we got these huge gaps in between. They did manage Red Dead Redemption 2, but we still have a large gap in between their games because of that. It takes so much more to produce these games and so much more when you're trying to keep an online version of the game going as well. But yeah, I think lesson learned. Hopefully we'll see. PlayStation's definitely time to step up. After this, they really need to put on the way that they normally do. We need that showcase. I hope they realize that. Usually they have their ear to the ground, but like I said, it's a new regime in charge right now. and they need to get their shit together. I'm gonna say that because people think it's not, you know, you don't get on when you're a PlayStation fan. PlayStation fans don't get on PlayStation and this, that, and the third. Like, look, I'm enjoying myself currently from a gameplay perspective. There are games to play. There are great games to play. I've enjoyed everything that they secured from their China Hero project and all these other games, and their partnership with Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade's one of my games of the year, you know, essentially one of my nominees, and it was an early game of the year for me. They have done a great job securing those things, but from a first party standpoint, it's time to stand up and show something, especially as you're about to launch the PlayStation 5 Pro. So hopefully they understand that and understand the
For
assignment.
December for your show, you got a new product on the line. You ain't got you can't be waiting for your birthday. You got a product to sell now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's time to step up. But yeah, going to our next topic here. So Dragon Age Veilguard has been a big topic lately. A lot of people got hands-on previews. Multiple streamers, YouTubers, whoever, got into it. A lot of them really seem to enjoy a lot of aspects of the game and what was on offer. A lot of people who said they were skeptical or on the fence about what they could achieve, rightfully so, because, BioWare now is not BioWare then. And, they definitely got some things to prove as to whether or not they can still stand up to the legendary success that BioWare has been known for over the years. But one of the main things that came out of this later, of course, is the controversy over the character creator and the lack thereof control on some aspects of it. It's kind of weird. I have a theory about why it's like that. It's excessively bad as far as proportion control when it comes to creating a female character. There was a tweet I wanted to bring up because it makes a good point, right? I don't care about none of these other things. BG made a good point about all the other inclusive stuff they added, post scars and all that stuff. I don't care. Y'all can add all that stuff all you want. That's not really the thing, but it is kind of weird in a game that is, touted as being an inclusive RPG, that they seem to be excluding a number of, voluptuous or shapely women.
Against chicks with big titties.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Like, I was like, what about the big titty women? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
the discrimination.
They're people too. They have a soul too.
They're people too. Like, but this is an example, right? Like, this girl posted a post. I don't know her. I just came across the post, but it's a good example. She's a very slim build, right? So you guys should be able to see that on stream. But she's a very slim build, and she was like, I can't even make my small ass in this game. And per example, right there, like, it's like the proportions are like I joked about this the other day. I was like, when I was chubby in the 5th grade, I had bigger titties than this. Like, like I'm gonna be real. I'm like, damn, like, what's going on here? So again, I'm assuming it has to do with the proportions of the armor and them just being lazy.
I ain't even gonna hold you. I got that beat right now.
Yeah, right, right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, bro, this is like training bra size. Like, what happened? So yeah, it definitely seems intentional. Like BG said, to keep the design this small, which is again weird. Like I said, I assume it's just them being lazy on armor design, because they would have to accommodate for larger breast sizes in bigger armor. Which
nah, man. Those titties are locked behind DLC.
Locked behind DLC.
Yo,
I'm gonna have to get the big titty DLC. I'm not gonna hold you.
$9.99 per app.
Yeah.
Titties.
Man.
Yeah,
It's the
I'm
one
gonna have
time
to get
PC dudes are winning right here.
Right. So I mean, it's definitely made me consider getting the game at least on PC if I'm still gonna pick it up day one, because I already know they about to tear that up on the mod scene.
I'm like, yo, it's crazy because I'm like, listen, I could care less about like them wanting to add the scars and stuff like that. Like that's
Exactly.
cool. I that's cool. That's great. Like people can make, you know, themselves. Inclusion's always great. But it's just like why you gotta punish me? Why can't like if I want to make a character, let me. I got to make a